Outside, it's raining. The clouds seem to want to break, and I think maybe they will in an hour or two. And when they do, I'll have to close the curtains and the shades because the sun hits my windows and covers me while I'm trying to write. I'm working on a story about a group home I lived in for almost 2 years when I was an adolescent. I lived in 5 different homes in Chicago between the ages of 14 and 18 and spent a year sleeping on a rooftop before that. I went to 4 different high schools. Almost everything I've written about has been influenced by things that happened to me during those years. I've never been very good at writing fiction. This is a true story, by the way. My girlfriend Eden wants me to wear a plug while I'm working. She likes to be in control. Oh, and she was a Trekkie, so I think that's fair. She likes to be in control. It's a large silicone purple plug. I cover it with liquid silk before sliding it in. It hurts going in, and then it doesn't. The shaft is much thinner than the head. I have to breathe for a moment, feel her inside me taking up space. I sit on a towel in a padded black chair, afraid to move. This is one of the last places of taboo in our relationship. When we first got together, I told her I wasn't comfortable being dominated by her when she wasn't around. I didn't think I'd be able to get work done wearing nipple clamps or not being allowed to masturbate or having a plug up my ass, which is what I have now. But in a way, it doesn't matter. When Eden comes over, when she spends the night, it usually takes a day to get over it anyway. She covers me with bites and bruises and cuts. Her name is carved in my back. She's with me all the time, or I'm longing for her. She leaves a velvet bag of rope next to my bed. Sometimes I think it's unfair. She's with me when she isn't. I've been having a hard time working anyway. It would be impossible to say if I don't get any work done, if it is just my continuing writer's block or the object in my ass. Victor Hugo once said, when asked if it was hard to write The Hunchback of Notre Dame, "My dear, it's either easy or it is impossible." The story I'm trying to write is a true story, but I mean to write it as fiction. I don't want to defend the truth of my recollections. I had just turned 17 and was sleeping beneath a thin blanket on the living room floor of the group home. I was naked. The carpet was green and scratchy. Upstairs, the other boys were asleep in the bedrooms. This particular group home looked just like a normal 2-story house in a quiet middle-class neighborhood in Chicago. It was not a violent place. I had been in other homes significantly worse. Locked facilities with red lines painted along the floors and shit smeared across the walls. Places built 100 years ago with the doors locked from the outside and you left your shoes in the hallways at night. Square concrete buildings with slit windows and state compounds hidden by high fences and miles of untended lawn out of sight and mind from the tax-paying public. Shelters with 30 children to a room and nobody with anything left to lose. I did not have a happy childhood. I'd had sex once already, not counting. I was 15 and I was with Tom and Maureen, who lived across from the home in an apartment with Maureen's parents. They were both in their 20s. Tom worked a construction truck owned by Maureen's father, and sometimes I worked with him. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. After work, we bought beer and drugs and went back to Maureen and Tom's 2 rooms. Maureen's room was covered in pictures of Elvis, but we never listened to him. We listened to the Ramones and the Defoliants. Maureen's friend Kat was there. She was 19 and kind and worked the front desk at a motorcycle dealership on Broadway. She always wore cutoffs and a bikini top. She was thin from too much speed, but still young enough to look healthy. I was too stoned to move, but I was glad to not be a virgin anymore. So that's kind of the abbreviated version of that. "Come on," she said. I didn't know what she meant. She got off me and showed me how to mount her, guiding me in. She showed me how to fuck her from behind. She got my dick in her ass. I saw Tom and Maureen watching from the bottom of the doorway. They looked happy. "I can't make you come," Kat said, pushing against me, her back fluorescent with sweat. She reached back and grabbed my side. Later she went to the schoolyard and asked my friends if they had heard about what happened between us. Some said they had. "It's all true," she told them, which is one of the nicest things anybody's ever done. The night I slept naked in the living room, things were looking up. I had quit drugs. I didn't hang out with Tom, Maureen, and Kat anymore. I was taking double classes during summer session in normal high school. It looked like I would graduate on time after all. It was probably around midnight when I woke up next to Sheila. She was the group home manager. She spent 3 nights a week in the home. She had crawled under my blanket and was looking at me. She had enormous hazel eyes. "Hi," I said. Or maybe I didn't say anything. It's hard to know. I'm trying to remember if this is a happy story or a sad story. I would mention that Tom, my good friend who hooked me up with my first consensual sexual encounter, died of a heroin overdose 15 years later, a few days before Christmas. He bucked on the dealer's floor, foaming at the mouth. It's easy to make, while his dealer sat above him searching the internet for a cure, it's easy to make fun, but a lot of people I knew then didn't make it. Sheila asked if she could have a hug, and I said yes, of course, because I was 17 and she was 25, and I was in love with her the way I was always in love with beautiful women in positions of power over me. More so because she gave me books to read, like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and Diet for a Small Planet, and read me poetry I didn't understand. She was the only adult who had shown sustained interest in my life. I'll skip ahead a little more. Here, just a minute left or two. My memories are complicated by the plug in my ass and the knowledge that I will be seeing Eden later, and it's hard to get turned on thinking about anybody else. I wonder if I loved Sheila then the way I love Eden now. And then I'll just continue here. Then I make out with Sheila and it's all kind of crazy, and then I go to see her at her house, and she says, let's go for a walk. This is really a bad idea, and I said, a bad idea for who? Because it seemed like a really good idea. And then we go see a band, and then and I say that the story has no climax. Sheila quit the home soon after that, and the next woman who came to run the home locked the door on me, so I moved into a friend's basement where I stayed for 9 months before starting college. Sheila called me on my 18th birthday, and I met her at a cafe, and she gave me a bicycle, which was a big present. I would use that bicycle until the frame rusted out and cracked, and then I would leave it locked to a tree and never see it again. Thanks.